Look closely at famous 19th century paintings. I
Hmm.
mean, really look at them.
All right.
In the landscapes across Europe and Russia, there is almost no winter.
Yeah, the source text we're looking at today note this completely bizarre consistency. It is almost exclusively an eternal summer or, early autumn captured on those canvases.
Which is weird, right? But then you walk into any major European historical museum and you find these massive two-handed swords.
Oh, and the giant, impossibly heavy armor.
Exactly. Armor that a modern human physically cannot lift, let alone, use effectively in sustained combat.
Well, the biomechanics simply do not work for our current skeletal structure. The texts are very clear on that.
Right. Now, I want you to pair those physical anomalies with a second, completely unrelated claim from today's sources.
And this is a wild one.
It really is. According to these highly unconventional texts, the people with the absolute highest level of consciousness and potential in our society are hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, the authors argue they're actually the individuals living on the streets battling the most severe alcohol and drug addictions.
Right. They claim these individuals aren't just, tragic failures. They were artificially suppressed by an automated system at the very beginning of their lives.
Suppress specifically so their unique neurological sensitivity wouldn't dismantle the ruling structure.
Which forms the absolute core of our deep dive for you today.
Exactly.
How does a lack of snow on old canvases connect to the reason why modern humans aggressively and voluntarily defend a system that is methodically destroying them?
So we are dissecting a stack of radical, deeply controversial texts today.
Very controversial.
Yeah. They attempt to completely rewrite the physics, history, and purpose of our reality.
Like they propose that Earth is not a rock floating in an infinite expanding cosmos.
No. They argue it is a closed park,
A park.
a completely isolated, artificially constructed, and tightly controlled terrarium, like a biological enclosure.
Okay, well, if it is a physical enclosure, my immediate instinct as a human is to find the exit.
Sure. That makes sense.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, you just rent a private Cessna, pick a direction, and fly off the map.
Well, the texts dismantle that romantic idea immediately using modern logistics.
How so?
Every developed and undeveloped nation strictly controls its airspace with overlapping radar and defense systems.
But people fly under the radar. I mean, smugglers do it. You just stay low.
You can stay low, but you cannot fly to coordinates that do not officially exist.
Yeah.
The source points out that bureaucracy is the ultimate physical cage here.
Oh, because you have to file a flight plan.
Right.
You have to list your altitude, your corridors, your destination, squawk codes, all of that.
Exactly. You cannot legally file a flight plan to nowhere.
Right.
The moment your transponder deviates toward an unmapped zone, satellite tracking and military interception protocols are, instantly triggered.
Okay, fine. The sky is locked down by red tape and jets. We use the ocean.
The ocean is monitored by the exact same centralized data networks.
But wait, every state only aggressively controls a 22-kilometer zone of territorial waters from its coast.
According to maritime law, sure.
Right, so that is just a geographical illusion of control. Past those 22 kilometers, you hit international waters.
Wow.
There's no jurisdiction there. You just point your boat toward the horizon and sail.
Well, here is where the source's logic takes a sharp, terrifying turn. Even in neutral waters, you are utterly dependent on tools created by the system.
You mean the boat itself? But I can build a boat.
Can you build the GPS satellite array?
Well, no.
Your ship, your refined fuel capacity, and your digital navigation charts are all designed to operate exclusively inside the parameters of the park.
So what happens? Does the map just physically curve back on itself like a video game?
The authors argue ocean currents, engineered weather patterns, and the hard math of supply logistics act like a giant treadmill.
A treadmill.
Yeah, you cannot carry enough fuel to reach the edge. You are physically turned around by the environment itself.
Stop. This is where it breaks.
What do you mean?
If we are physically locked in, like you're saying, what is this place and who actually built it?
To answer that, the texts point to physical evidence they claim mainstream science entirely ignores, specifically the buried cities.
Oh, the mud floods. This is a massive recurring focus in these documents.
Yes, buildings from the 19th century across the globe, from Paris to Moscow to New York, share a bizarre architectural anomaly.
The first floors are buried under 3 meters of densely packed clay.
Right.
Full floors, with windows and grand entry doors just sitting under the dirt.
If you look at standard historical models, they say The streets were just raised over time for sewage or paving.
Sure, that's what we're taught.
But the texts emphasize a crucial geological detail.
It is pure clay.
Yes.
The sediment contains zero human trash, no broken pottery, no cultural artifacts mixed in.
Which logically means it wasn't a slow settling of the ground or a gradual urban buildup. It had to be an instant catastrophic event.
Like a rapid, violent wipeout. And add to this the 3-meter ceilings and giant door handles found in these old structures.
The texts ask you to really look at the proportions.
Yeah, don't make sense.
No, windows that are entirely the wrong scale for our bodies. Fireplaces and chimneys that look like they were hacked into the walls much later by smaller people.
So the texts use this to argue for a completely different anthropology.
Right.
A previous civilization of humans who were up to 3 meters tall.
They call this original primary world the Almost,
The honest.
the true reality before the enclosure was finalized.
And they claim the honest was destroyed by a global reset roughly 200 to 300 years ago.
A sudden reset caused by a high-tech, weaponized strike.
Which sounds like pure science fiction, until you examine the geographic anomalies they list.
They point to perfectly circular lakes ringed with cesium.
And cesium is a byproduct of nuclear or plasma reactions.
Mainstream science attributes some of these to meteor impacts or, natural geological formations.
Of course.
But the texts argue cesium does not just appear in nature in perfectly circular radiation rings.
Right. How is it sitting around lakes formed supposedly long before the atomic bomb was ever invented?
The authors use this as mechanical proof of a high-tech wipeout. They also point to the Eye of the Sahara in Mauritania.
Oh, yeah. They describe it not as a natural dome, but as a massive fused crater left by a colossal energetic impact.
Yeah.
So the Almost was utterly destroyed.
And our current reality, this highly regulated park, was built directly on top of its ruins. It's a colonized space.
Man, this implies modern world leaders are just like management.
The texts explicitly call them avatars or biological shells.
Avatars.
Shells operated by external colonizers. The source argues this is the only logical explanation for why political decisions often seem entirely absurd or counterproductive to a normal citizen.
I guess if you look at it from the perspective of an invading force actively terraforming the biosphere, the absurdity becomes a cold strategy.
Right, but we need to correct that a bit. According to this radical mathematical model, the colonizers do not want our resources.
They don't.
They do not care about extracting oil or gold.
Then what are they doing?
They are slowly dismantling the basic conditions for human survival.
Like the systematic destruction of traditional farming.
Yes, the promotion of synthetic foods, the deliberate poisoning of the topsoil. The texts frame this not as incompetence, but as a coordinated demolition.
But wait, wouldn't a tyrannical system just want a controllable, obedient tax-paying population? Why destroy the workforce?
Well, the texts provide a ruthless mathematical counterargument here.
Okay.
Feeding the United States alone requires roughly 350 million loaves of bread every single day.
Wow. And you cannot stockpile that kind of perishable food.
No.
You need a constantly running massive agricultural engine.
Precisely. If leaders were merely trying to control a subservient population, they would still urgently need to feed them.
Right, because a starving population riots.
So the attack on independent farming proves they aren't trying to manage us. They want total depopulation.
Wait, does this mean
Good.
if these architects possess plasma weapons, and if they are powerful enough to fake reality and wipe out 3-meter humans, why the slow burn?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Exactly. Why not just press a button and eradicate humanity today? Why the incredibly complicated theater with politics, inflation, and economics?
Because of a fundamental metaphysical vulnerability.
Vulnerability.
The texts claim the system is essentially an automated algorithm, and it cannot act directly against a living human.
It has a blind spot.
Yes. The source says it cannot pierce a human's absolute internal confidence.
Interesting. So if you are entirely certain of your safety, your consciousness acts like an encrypted code the algorithm cannot read.
Exactly. The system is physically forced to materialize that safety around you.
So they absolutely need an alibi. The Matrix requires our voluntary consent to destroy us.
Yes, they cannot legally murder you in the architecture of this park.
Right.
So they create narrow corridors of criminal laws, financial panics, and societal pressures.
They engineer a terrifying crisis, give you 3 doors to escape it, and all 3 doors lead to your destruction.
But you are the one who turns the handle.
You voluntarily sign the contract for the military draft, or you accept the mandated medical procedure.
Or you actively agree to the digital currency control.
This loops right back to our opening question, honestly.
It does.
Why do people fiercely defend this? Why do they comply when the trap is so obvious?
Well, the source explains this psychological lock using the wardrobe analogy.
The wardrobe analogy.
Imagine a massive, heavy, entirely useless wardrobe sitting in the middle of your living room.
Okay, and you have spent your whole life walking around it, dusting it, believing this wardrobe is a load-bearing pillar holding up the ceilings.
Right, someone comes along and proves to you, using basic engineering and blueprints, that the ceiling is perfectly fine.
Right, the wardrobe is just garbage left by the previous tenant.
But the subconscious terror of the ceiling crushing you is so intense, you violently defend the wardrobe.
Think about your own life. Your 9 to 5 commute, your 30-year mortgage, the endless news cycle.
Taking that away removes your entire sense of normalcy.
The Matrix offers profound narcotic comfort through absolute predictability.
You wake up, you have a defined role, you have a boss to complain about, you have debts to pay, you have a script.
And if you burn the script, you have to face the terrifying, unstructured vacuum of real freedom.
That existential dread of the vacuum is unbearable for most.
So they go back to sleep.
Yeah, they willingly become the fiercest guards of their own prison.
But what happens when someone just says no? What about the outliers?
The system has a plan for them too.
The highly sensitive people who actually see the glitches, the missing snow, the giant doors.
The system has a specific automated immune response for them. It neutralizes them before they can unify.
Which brings us to the addicts from the cold open.
Yes. The source claims that people at the absolute bottom of society, battling severe chemical dependencies, are often those with the highest innate energetic potential.
They are extreme empaths.
Right. They felt the artificial synthetic nature of this park from childhood, even if they couldn't articulate it.
Because they perceive the world's friction so acutely, the system targets them.
It floods their reality with artificial crises and unbearable mental noise.
It intentionally overwhelms their bandwidth. They desperately look for an off switch just to numb the frequency.
And the system conveniently provides alcohol and cheap narcotics on every single corner.
You just described the ultimate trap.
It's brutal.
The system doesn't need to assassinate its biggest threats, it simply hands them the weapon.
It forces them to voluntarily burn up their own immense energy fighting personal demons in rehab or on the streets.
They never coalesce into a unified threat.
Exactly.
But wait, what if someone manages to dodge the addiction trap? What if they figure out how to use the system's own rules against it?
The texts point heavily to the concept of transurfing and its alleged creator, Vadim Zeland.
Transurfing is presented as the mechanical hack.
Right, the idea that reality is a plastic space of variance.
You don't fight the matrix, you slide between realities using pure, unapologetic confidence.
Millions of people claim the method absolutely works, but the source highlights a massive, glaring anomaly regarding the author himself.
Zealand is a complete ghost.
In the modern, hyper-surveilled digital age, there's not a single candid photograph of him walking down a street or at a cafe.
There is no confirmed past, no verifiable biography, just a highly controlled image of a man in dark glasses.
The source analyzes a major esoteric conference in France.
Right, where Zealand allegedly spoke on stage.
Yes, yet not a single person in the audience captured a photo or video on their phone.
Statistically, in a room full of thousands of people, that is near impossible.
The text present 4 distinct, rigorous theories to explain this anomaly.
Theory 1. He is a real person who applied his own transurfing methods so perfectly, he literally erased his physical footprint from the space of variance.
Right, he dropped his personal importance to absolute zero and became invisible to the Matrix's tracking algorithms.
Okay, theory 2. He is a collective brand, a group of intelligence analysts or philosophers writing under one fabricated name.
Theory 3, he is exactly like Satoshi Nakamoto, the anonymous creator of Bitcoin.
A figurehead where the identity is totally irrelevant, but the mathematical algorithm he released functions perfectly on its own.
And theory 4 is the most unnerving.
Zealand is a stress test run by the system itself.
An experiment. Can the Matrix introduce a powerful tool for awakening, but deliberately remove the charismatic guru from the equation?
Oh, like without a savior to worship, will humanity actually do the hard work of using the tool?
Or will the idea just fizzle out and die?
The text suggests the ultimate teacher is the one you cannot see, precisely because they don't drain your energy through a cult of personality.
The focus remains entirely on the mechanism itself.
The mechanism that responds unconditionally to absolute confidence.
which is exactly why the system's primary output is terror.
Right. Fear breaks the confidence shield, allowing the algorithm to legally process your destruction. Man, my brain is spinning. Let's pull all this together.
Sure.
We are looking at a masterfully engineered, multi layered trap.
We start with the physical anomalies.
Yeah.
The missing winter on canvases and the impossibly giant artifacts point to the destroyed honest.
Our current world is a cheap, constrained copy, a terrarium managed by biological avatars who are actively trying to starve us out.
Right. They systematically destroy agriculture under the guise of ecology to achieve rapid depopulation.
Because a starving populace doesn't need to be managed.
And because the algorithm can't murder us directly due to the confidence shield, they use manufactured political chaos to trick us into voluntarily signing our own death warrants.
Meanwhile, the human outliers who could organically stop this, the sensitive empaths, are neutralized by engineered despair and chemical addictions.
And the vast majority of the population aggressively defends the illusion.
They cling to the wardrobe because they are terrified of the empty space of actual freedom.
It is a brilliantly closed loop, and the source warns against the single most common misconception about escaping it.
The deeply ingrained idea that physical death is the final exit.
According to this framework, death is the ultimate scam.
Wow.
It is the literal wheel of samsara stripped of its romantic spiritual glaze.
The texts are brutal about this mechanic. You die, you are carried out feet first, your memory is aggressively wiped clean, and you are immediately thrown back in head first.
You are recycled purely to generate more emotional energy to power the park's grid. You never actually leave the terrarium.
So the only real mathematical exit has to happen while you are still alive and conscious?
It requires activating internal energetic channels,
What the texts refer to as opening your chakras.
but not as a meditation exercise, as a literal frequency shift to slide into a different variant of reality.
You are the portal. You don't need to find a hidden continent beyond the ice wall or build a spaceship.
No, you need to change your internal broadcasting frequency.
But the texts end with a chilling, immediate warning about the very near future, the final stage of this demolition protocol,
The moment when the supply chains actually break,
when the 350 million loads of bread stop arriving.
when the illusion of stability finally shatters completely.
The authors stress that when that happens, your greatest enemy won't be abstract globalists, hidden architects, or avatars in suits.
It will be your neighbors.
The people right next to you who have spent their entire lives blindly following the television and the script.
It will be the local enforcers in uniform who come to take your last resources, simply to maintain their own illusion of order.
They will follow entirely absurd, suicidal orders without a single moment of critical thought because the system told them to.
If this entire world is truly just an architectural trap, built entirely on your daily habit of obeying the rules,
Will you have the courage to disobey when the official law orders you to take a voluntary step into the abyss?